My bed is down for a very good reason. Well, the reason's good because I didn't have power this morning when I woke up. In fact, I didn't have power last night. My air conditioner, me running my air conditioner yesterday afternoon was a bit of a premature experiment that didn't turn out so well because I ran my battery down farther than what I thought was okay. It got about 200 amp hours out, and the maximum capacity is 300. Well, my voltage on my inverter is set to stop inverting at 24 volts. Well, it's a 24 volt system, so that kind of makes sense. So it stopped inverting, which meant my fan stopped working in the middle of the night, and it got really hot in here. So I was like, well, I have a DC fan on my fantastic fan. So I turned that on, and that was great because then it sucked air out, and by my bed I have another vent, so it was sucking in cool night air in. Well, eventually that stopped. And actually, it didn't stop. But I was like, but my battery, it drew my battery down to like 22 volts. Well, I don't know, maybe it's because I accidentally left the water pump on, but it must still draw power when it's not pumping, but it's still on. I don't know what else, unless there's some like other mysterious phantom draw in here. Well, when I came back, my battery charge controller shuts off, I think, if there's less than 10 volts in the batteries. Well, guess what? There was only 8. So that wasn't even on. So this whole time when I was at work in the morning, not that it would have been a ton of watts charging, but it would have slowly charged back up. Well, so then I had to get a battery charger, and it's only a 12 volt battery charger. Kind of jump start the system so it turns on the controller, and now it's charging. So I'm waiting for it to get a little bit more power into the system before I try to turn the inverter on and raise this bed and kind of turn my fridge back on, because that's been off now for probably 12 hours, which isn't good. So I'm going to edit this video in the big house where I have as much power as I want, and hopefully it's a little cooler too, but it's not too bad. I mean, last night I almost gave in and went back in because it was like 92 degrees when I was trying to go to bed. And since I had run all my power in the air conditioner during the early afternoon, or like noon, 11 to 3:34, so it was like I ran my air conditioner for like 5 hours. Well, that was the maximum, even though I had full sun. So I was surprised. I mean, my air conditioner is not going to work. I've got to find a better solution, because even when I was drawing, say, 1200 amps, I thought this thing only draws 15, so I'm like a 300 watt deficit. Well, that's not that much, but I guess over time it takes more energy than I thought, plus everything else running. So that was not good. But I did stick it out. I got, a good 3 hours of sleep last night. Got up at 12:15 and went into work. So I guess I got to go, and I didn't have to sleep too long in super hot weather. But it does make me think quite hard about this summer, because it's going to be something that's going to be difficult to, with my current setup. It just doesn't seem like it's going to be that possible. I'd have to like run an extension cord to the garage and grab power from there to run my AC maybe, which I was hoping not to do, but that may be the only way to work it. At least in the short term, that's the only way to work it. So now I have some updates of the tiny house. A few. I have a little garden update, and let's just say some miscellaneous extra stuff. Maybe. I still have to download all the files on the phone or camera and see what I've got. Okay. We're gonna call this good. Good day. So it's Thursday morning, and I'm gonna give you a little update here before my Friday, which I this time will release, edit my video. I've got a really early morning shift tomorrow. I'm taking over for somebody, and so I will be done early, which means I will have plenty of time to get it done. So last week I had thought I had updated videos of my tiny house, which I didn't, so I'm going to take this brief moment to do such. The first thing is I am sitting in an air-conditioned tiny house, and it feels really good in here. It is, so it's 11:30. Outside it is 83, and inside it's, well, this thing says 71, but it kind of has a lag time. My air conditioner says it's 69, and even though 69 doesn't really seem like, ooh, that's really cold, I'll tell you what, if you were in here versus outside in the sun, I was just out there making sure my garden was watered and doing a little weeding and just making sure, seeing what has popped up and what hasn't. Most of it hasn't. That might be in the video. I might do that tomorrow. So you'll get to see a garden update too. So yeah, anyways, it's 69, 70, something like that. It feels really nice. And I ran the air conditioner it was early evening, so the sun was definitely not ideal. I used about almost 100 amp hours just in a couple hours of running this thing, because I had left the tiny house open a little bit, some windows open. But so basically all that means is the tiny house doesn't get warmer than the outside air. So inside and outside it was about 86 degrees. And I'm like, man, I gotta go to bed soon. I do not want to go to bed when it's 86. So I got it down to like 72. And then I was like, I'm going into nighttime, I'm not gonna keep running it. The temperature outside had been dropping down into about the, upper 70s at that point. So it felt pretty comfortable outside, not in the sun, in the shade. So I turned off the air conditioner. It rose in here, so let's say by the time I got to bed it was about 75-ish. I opened up my 2 roof vents and I went to sleep. This morning it was 72 outside and 78 inside. It still felt fine. I wasn't hot or anything. I didn't use any covers though, really, for the most part. Well, and covers, I mean, my light sleeping bag. So that's got to go. I guess need to get a sheet, and that's in the big house. Need to find it. So as you can see, so this is kind of a table. Table has been upgraded, and I will show it to you. This is not, so I don't have the hinge on it. I mentioned that before, but I just attached the RV pole attachment onto this table here, and this doesn't work exactly how I want it to. How do I get this to work? This has to come. Anyways, it slides. You can kind of see here. So every other one, and I made it too tight, of course. So, goodness gracious, it's really tight. Ugh. Here we go. Okay, so, ouch. So that, I need to sand the insides of these so that it slides better. Really tight. So as of now, this. No, let's go. Go slide. I think it's way too like way tougher than what I used to. Okay, so. So anyways, it can, like, it slides out and it looks like this. And this is supposed to be the front. And so it would look something like that. So it doesn't come quite all the way out here, but you know what? I think that's fine. At least for right now, phase one. I can expand this a little bit farther, but I have this much overlap for strength, so I could theoretically come out. I could come out close to being all the way out to the edge of the seats, the booth seats, and then I could push this back in, fold it down. So see, look at that, folds up for the most part. Anyways, for now, put my laptop on here. I've eaten off of here. This is, I mean, it's not secure, but it, you know, it's a good temporary table. It's better than the other one. It's not as wide. I did go 19.5 inches, and that will slide down in between the booths just perfectly fine. Back to the air conditioner. So I used about 100 amp hours. And actually when I woke up, so I had a fan blowing on me so that I was kept cool. I was 114 amp hours down. Come back this morning, bam, totally full up, charged up. And that was at 10:30 in the morning, so it didn't take long. Like when I have full sunny days, it does not take long to charge that up. So I'm kind of doing an experiment now. Keep it cool. I'm going to be having even primo sun coming up here in an hour, let's say. So from like 1 to 3, I've got great angle in between trees and the house and whatnot. So I'm going to be getting my full power. I can keep this thing cool then for the most part of the day. I will cut back so it can charge up a little bit, and then I can have a cool place to be in the evening before I go to bed. And then as the night cools down, it won't matter anyways. So right now I'm only got 560 watts going in, but it is climbing. It was about 150 watts when I got here this morning, so that's, and it charged my batteries back up from that, so it's actually quite surprising. But to run overnight, and I know that I will want to at some point in the heat of the summer when it won't get below 90, that's going to be a real issue. And so battery capacity may be an issue. Like, do I want to deplete my batteries all the way to keep me cool through the night? I don't know. And maybe at some point too I will acclimate to the heat, and when it is 80 or 85 in here, I'll be like, well, yeah, it's a little warm, but with a fan I'll be fine. I don't know. It is a very interesting experiment right now with living off grid and what I am willing to tolerate to stay completely off grid. I'm like my water situation, I probably put another 15 gallons of water in my tank, so I'm not even half full yet now, and that's gonna just last me for, I don't know, I probably use like 10 gallons of water a week. And that's me not trying terribly hard. Now granted, I don't have my shower done, but a shower, I don't know how many gallons of water a shower will take. Maybe 2 gallons of water, 3 gallons of water. Till then it might go up a little bit after that. We'll see. Here is one closed drawer that I added in my laptop shelf, which is really convenient to get that off the floor. So socks, underwear, shirts there, and then I got a second one down here next to my air conditioner, so you know, shorts, jeans, and actually a second drawer of socks and underwear. So I don't know why I haven't had so many socks and underwear, but I guess I go through that eventually. My work clothes above that. Here I had a little shelf, and it was originally just for my teapot, but lo and behold, look at that, I can fit my paper towel and my toothbrush back there. So this is really nice. I mean, getting stuff off the counter is super nice. I've got some marigolds I'm trying to start right there. Here's my sun hat. So I've got some additions here for storage for the kitchen area. So up here I've got different pots and pans. These are some trays for the toaster oven. There's my toaster oven still there, working fine. I got this with these hooks, and I'm not really sure exactly what I'm going to do with that. It may not have been a great purchase, but we'll see. It's just right now it's my miscellaneous shelf. And then these guys for doing dishes. At first I had thought that I was gonna like have some kind of retractable shelf that I could put my dishes as they dry over and drip into the pan or into the sink, but that doesn't make any sense because it's going to be blocking, and then what am I going to do with that stuff while I'm washing? So this was the solution. So this is just your typical like home thing, so that's nice. It drains it back in, has a place, and this is retractable. So this pushes out to full size, has little pegs in here to hold up plates, has a little place for there's silverware, knives, whatnot, long skinny things, and so that's great. And then when I'm done, push that down, and I think I'm gonna, where I thought, right now I'm keeping it up. Right now I'm, oh, that's crooked. Right now I'm keeping it up here, but I think what I'm gonna do is where I thought I was gonna have this retractable shelf down here, I'll just build a shelf and that'll just be a little cubby here for this, and I can just pull it out and pop it into place. Do my dishes. Bam. But for now, since I don't have anything up there, I'll just put it up there. Closet. So this is where now I have a almost fully installed Wi-Fi antenna and repeater router up here in the back of this shelf. And then here is my closet with my rod here. I've got one hanger. So a hanger goes perfectly fine this way, and I put it the lengthwise because I get about 7 to 8 more inches front and back versus side to side. Now maybe that's going to be weird to like try to find my clothes inside the closet, but I thought being able to store more stuff in my closet was worth the hassle. So the stuff I use rarely will go in the back. Things I use more often will come towards the front. So it'll end up being kind of a good sorting area. So when stuff gets pushed to the back, I can be like, huh, do I even need this in here? And if I think, man, it's been like a year since I've worn this, well, get rid of it. Or maybe like winter stuff, you know, long sleeve shirts and that sort of stuff, and then in the winter they can come to the front. So that is my thought on that. And then I'll just, both on the closet area and the bathroom area, I'm just gonna have cloth, like window curtains probably is what I'm gonna end up doing. So here's my garden. Starting on the left are my 3 tomato cages, and then as we sweep over, there are my 6 raised beds. And things are actually starting to come up now. So if I go back here, the tomatoes, and I have 2 different kinds of tomato seedlings that I bought from Menards, and I planted them 6 per tomato cage, and then I put a yellow Hungarian wax pepper in the corners, so those won't need any kind of support. They should support themselves. I've got in the back on the right is an early girl, and then up here in front I've got called a jet. It's called Jet Star. And then on the back left, now that's a seed I planted, and I did more there. I think I did 9 holes. And that's a Moscow tomato. I think that's an heirloom. But let's go take a closer look at my raised beds. So here on the right, I've got some purple pole beans. And then I've got on the very left, which have come up, you can kind of see the green, is some lettuce. And in the middle is cabbage. And you can, I think there are some spots of cabbages that have come up. So I'm still waiting to see if they're weeds or cabbage. Next one over on the left is going to be, or supposed to be, basil, which I don't see any action there. And then spinach, which I think is coming up because it's too much of a row. It kind of looks like grass right now. And then on the right are cucumbers. And on the left of this guy is a orange Rossellini tomato. It's a kind of a cherry tomato. No action there. And on the right, I think, is a muskmelon, and there's no action there either. Moving to this guy, I've got zucchini on the left, and I've got one right there. One zucchini has come up, and on the right is going to be a buttercup squash, and there is one that has come up about right here. And this guy, I broadcast sowed some broccoli in the middle. And this is what I did with the tomatoes that I planted from seed, is that I used peat moss as my cover. So that is super easy to break through, because I was concerned about how the soil kind of gets a crust on the top. So I'm watering it quite a bit. On the right is watermelon, which I may have one of those guys up, but I'm not sure. And on the left is a ground cherry. It's another cherry tomato type plant, and I don't see anything from that either. And here again in the middle is broccoli, which a lot of them have come up. I'm going to definitely have to thin those out. And on both sides, the right and the left, are snap peas. And I don't see any action there either. But those got planted later, so I'm not expecting a whole lot. Coming over to my lawn garden, which will be the last time I ever try this. I've got cilantro on the back, and a few carrots actually came up here in the front. This is my incredibly dense radish bed. And then here I've got beets. So I've got a lot of beets too. Unfortunately, they're all kind of in the middle. Definitely have to thin those out at some point. I'm going to see what takes off, and I'll just kind of eat the tops as they get a little bit bigger. I've got a bunch of wood chips here that I made from the vines that I took off of the fence line. So I'll kind of try to squash some of these weeds here in between the rows, because that's all it is there's no grass. It's just, especially right here, is weeds. Oh, compost pile. So here's where I planted some potatoes, and I did the same thing, kind of. On top of a compost pile, I added about 3 cubic yards of all-purpose topsoil, and then I put a big thick layer of peat moss on the top of that too. Let me check that if it's really peat moss. So there, peat moss, yeah, that's what I did. I actually had originally bought it for my composting toilet, but it's going to work great in my garden too. And back to the potatoes, I'm afraid that my compost pile is still a little warm, and so I'm debating whether that I should move my potatoes to some containers and try to keep them cooler than what that compost pile is keeping it at, because it really shouldn't be above 80 degrees, and it's definitely above 80 degrees. So I think I might have some problems with my potatoes. Now, if I wanted to plant something in my warmer soil in my compost pile, the sweet potato, once it starts to give me some seedling things, what are they called? I can't remember. Chips, I guess, I think is what they're called. I could plant them in there. So I just put that in water yesterday afternoon, so I guess I have to wait a couple weeks for it to do its thing. So we'll just leave it out here, keep it watered, and hope I get some sweet potatoes.